To social media to hit back at some Americans, including Charles Barkley, who said that the US were going to whoop the Netherlands behind. Just tidy that up slightly. Obviously, Depay on the score sheet as they won 3-1. These are some of the newspapers from the US, the New York Times, Washington Post, all talking about the US losing against the Dutch. Craig, it's the first time we've been able to have this conversation on the show with you. What did you make of it?
Somebody'd have to tell Charles Barkley what shape a soccer ball is, you know what I mean?
Oh, there we go.
You just wouldn't be bothering with some of those clueless Americans when it comes to soccer. But I'm not quite buying this "we sucked them in and spat them out" sort of rhetoric. The Dutch were poor in possession, and that allowed the US to have as much ball as they did. Look, the Pulisic chance could have changed the game,
right,
but it's ifs, buts and maybes. But I do think there was a lot of naivety about the US. Once that the Dutch did form their sort of barrier in front and sat a bit deeper, the US just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And instead of just taking the stick, you know, it's coming, let's just charge the light brigade. Instead of just taking the sting out it a little bit and maybe try to draw the Dutch out, it was sort of hell for leather and they got picked apart. Look, Tyler Adams, I don't know if you talked about it, he was jogging back for the goal, the first goal. He's had a great tournament, but he was jogging back as if he was the new greatest midfielder on the planet. You had the two full-backs on the crosses not picking up. These are basics. These are basics. And when you do that against this Dutch side, who, by the way, were not brilliant, and it told you all about their performance when Van Gaal made those changes at half-time, even when they're winning, he wasn't happy. But yeah, I think we just saw a naivety from the United States. But I love seeing Van Gaal coming into the hotel like that. Here's a guy in his 70s. He's done it all in the game. He doesn't really have to be there. He either is or has been battling a serious illness. And I think there's a respect and a realisation from him that even he's lightened up as this sort of guy who was very brash and abrupt and it's Louis' way or the highway. Now he's almost like, it's like, God, just being here. A World Cup, healthy, coaching this side. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? And I think it's a great attitude to have.
But there's something, if I may. Yesterday we all agreed that the tactic from the Dutch, the first half, was absolutely perfect, and Van Gaal thought through very well. Well, right. Today he said that he wasn't happy with the first half, that in fact it's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to do something else, wanted to have more the possession of the ball. It's why for the Argentinian game, you know, I'm still having so much question mark about that Dutch team. I don't know where they're going to go. So far, so good. But I'm not that sure that they really have an option B.
Of course, living here in the States, we're exposed to a lot of pro-USA rhetoric. Were you surprised with the confidence that some people had of the US going into that Dutch side?
Well, I don't know if confidence is the right word, because I was confident they'd put a decent performance on myself, having seen both sides play in the competition. Now, we can pick away at the squad and some of his selections. I mean, we can sit on this G Arena sort of talking point, and it is. We can talk about the rotation of the strikers and how that didn't work. Even though he might not be the greatest thing since sliced bread, Ricardo Pepe, he didn't have enough strikers within his camp to make even more changes. So you can pick that apart. I think ultimately they got to where their talent level is.
Right.
I think ultimately that's where they are. Out the group, round of 16, got a bit of a spanking in the end. And I kind of think that's where they are. But the tactics, I mean, it's like saying for England today when you talk about Holland, well, the tactics was to do it. No. Do you think the England tactics was to play badly for 30 minutes and possibly be 2-0 down against Senegal? No. Not at all. That was kind of rode your luck. But from a US perspective, I think part of the thing is, and on that early live show today after the game on FC stroke YouTube, I think it was, saying the same thing, is that unfortunately there are a lot of soccer fans here and it's grown by the day, by the week. And a lot of them are intelligent about the game and they understand. However, there are a lot who are casual fans who are not. And they jump on this good World Cup ship every time it comes along and they listen to the narrative from some from a US perspective from some, and it's irrational.
Right.
And then when the inevitable comes, oh, we were expecting a lot more. No, you're not at that stage. You're not at that stage.
But Craig, as Pulisic scored the goal at 1-0, it would have been a different story maybe.
Possibly.
So it's about details. It's not all about tactic.
I mean, for example, we have Christian Pulisic, who did have a good World Cup, but effectively he's a squad player. He's a squad player at a club who are not even fighting for the Premier League. You have to have some perspective. You know, Adams had a great World Cup, but he's playing for a club that's fighting relegation in the Premier League. It's hard to step up to, we're talking about England today, and we're talking about France, we're talking about Argentina and the Netherlands. Yeah, one or two of them are not the greatest sides in the world, but they've players playing for the Barcelonas and all these elite clubs. You know, US have one or two, but they're not at that level. And I think they had a damn good World Cup, and I think the last 16, for me, is where their level is.
And where will that level then take them in 2026? Because the argument is obviously this young group, they're going to be 4 years more advanced, 4 years more mature. Will they be 4 years better?
Well,
is that even a thing?
Yeah, it's even a thing. I think the question here is like, it's very difficult to look that far ahead. You know, you've got so many permutations. I just mentioned that Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson, two fine young players, but where the hell will Leeds United be? Where will they be? If they get relegated, will they stay there? Probably not. Christian Pulisic, he can't continue to be a bit part. He has to find his feet somewhere. You know, Tim Ream's not going to be around. You know, Matt Turner, who's been excellent, is he going to still be sitting on his backside at Arsenal as the number 2? There are so many questions about where these guys will be playing and how they'll be playing come the next World Cup. I think it's impossible to say, there's my spine, that's it for sure, and we build around everything and that's going to be it. Because for me, so much can change in 6 months or a year, never mind 4 years.
That's all right. Be American, be optimistic. It's what they are. That's who they are. You know, it's part of the genes, you know. When I hear people here, and I always come here, it's optimism will make them be better than the others and believe that they can go so far. I heard Alexis Lalas talking to the goalkeeper Turner,
Matt Turner.
saying today, do you think he can win the World Cup in 2026? I mean, I say, oh my God, what is he saying right now already? But that's what we are. You can be upset about the American, but you have to respect that they are ready to go very far because of that optimism.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is an obsession over here about winning the World Cup. Now, that's maybe just the mentality of this culture and country. And listen, that's how it is, and I understand that. However, speaking from my own perspective, is we're generally brought up to come and live in the real world. And the real world is that is going to be, not 2026, not happening, but maybe 2046, it's still going to be incredibly difficult. It doesn't matter if you have 350 million population, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's so difficult to churn out these fantastically quality players and piece them all together at the one time. You might get them in fits and starts. I mean, you only got to look at Scotland at the moment. For example, they've got two of the finest left backs in the Premier League, in Kieran Tierney and Andrew Robertson. But you're not going to win anything with two excellent left backs. You need other people. And to do that all at once, ask Belgium. To do it all at once, to fit 8, 9, 10, 12 of them in the one era is difficult.
CONCACAF's an issue as well, isn't it? In the sense, between now and the World Cup, what competitive matches are they going to be where they're going to be tested?
And CONCACAF, and it's another bugbear of mine, is how people start eulogising and frothing at the mouth over the Gold Cup. It just winds me up, because you have to put a perspective on it. And I understand it's a competition they play over here, right? But you have to put a perspective on it. And quality of opposition is hugely important.
Right.
So who they pick and choose to play when they have time over the next
But whatever it'll
4
be, it'll be
years.
friendlies, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
there.
but
That's the problem.
friendly with national
Well,
team
it's not
is
their
not really a
fault, to be
friendly.
honest.
You have to fight for the national team.
Oh, yeah, but we know friendlies. Frank, you've played in friendlies. Craig played in friendlies.
Yeah,
but
but
you're not the same level as you are.
Of course, it's not as important as a World Cup final, but it is important. You play for your country. You have to be thankful to be on the field. You know,
There's a million changes in the second half. It's not the same.
No, but if you play a friendly against France, against England, against Argentina, if you find the schedule for those teams to play against you, that would bring something important to the players because they're going to get better. Because even maybe if France doesn't play, you know, at 100% because it's the US team, you will learn something playing against those teams, and that's going to bring something to you. Even if I don't think, you know, we were horrendous before the World Cup in '98, you know, playing those friendly games because we're fed up traveling and going anywhere for nothing because they are friendly games. But we learned how Aimé Jacquet wanted us to work together. And it's never easy to find a group, a squad, where players can stick together and fight for each other.
I don't know what the percentage was within this squad, but bearing in mind that it will be friendlies, as you said, and the odd sort of competition that is sort of a bit powder puff, I think it goes back to the point that the more players they can have in 2026 that have had 3 or 4 years playing at elite level around Europe, whether it's going for Champions League qualification, whether it's going for domestic cups, whether it's fighting relegation, like some of these boys are at Leeds, it's a pressurised situation on a weekly basis, sometimes twice a week. And I think the more they can get overseas playing at elite level, the better state they will be in when they come to this tournament.
Sorry, just 2 seconds. It's true that in '98, I take that example because I've been
Yes,
doing that. I know, you're bored with that.
Goes back to
but most players were playing for AC Milan, Juventus, Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, I don't know. All Bayern Munich for Lizarazu, only top teams. So that's a key.
You look at it now, Musa Valencia, McKenna Juventus will probably change their situation. Tyler Adams, I think he's better than Leeds. The list goes on. Pulisic, Gioreno playing in Germany. He's had
and Berhalter, okay?
Yeah, you know, we can nitpick at his mistakes, but I actually think the way that they played and, you know, how he handles his players and I think how they look up to him. You know, we can go out and say, right, get me Pep and get me Jurgen Klopp. They're not coming.
Right.
Unlikely. They're not coming. And, you know, I think how he's gone about it for me, I mean, how they've played, taking the disappointment out of it with what he's got, I mean, is anybody really looking to fire the guy after that? Is there?
It's also
not for me.
It's also up to him, you know, according to what Casey said, and maybe he wants to have a daily job.
Right.
So will he stay? Will he be there within 4 years? It's not only up to.
But as Gab was saying, and we were talking today, and as Gab Marcotti was saying, now's a good time when you've not had a disaster of a World Cup and some of your young players have played pretty well and have caught the eye to talk about the future for yourself as a manager and where you might be going, just to maybe bat that ball back into the US's court and saying, are you backing me for 2026 or not? But I get the feeling he'll be in charge.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.